ngayon sa parte na to ng ating pag-aaral, ang ating tatalakayin ay extinguishment of obligations. Ano? So we are now in the next section or chapter of the Civil Code on obligations and contracts. And very neatly, it approximates our academic calendar. Okay, so if you look at what I'm presenting now, ito uli yung ating academic calendar. I don't know if you can see it if you have a cell phone. I'm sorry for those who are. If you'll notice, our midterms are on October 21st to 26th. So given the way I see the subject matter we have, which is extinguishment of obligations, tamang-tama yan. Ano? But, bante tayo sa mga topics na tatalakayin natin sa extinguishment of obligations. Babalikan natin yung mga mahirap na parte sa kinds of obligations. Kasi nakita ko sa exams at saka nakita ko sa exercises nyo na meron pa tayong mga kailangang i-klaro doon. Bakit natin babalikan yon? Una, dahil itong chapter ng kinds of obligations, paborito yan sa mga exam. Pangalawa, very practical yan eh. Kasi alam nyo, pag kayo'y nagtatrabaho na at meron kayong nakitang obligasyon ng kumpanya, ng pamilya mo, ng asawa mo, ang kasama mo sa trabaho, and you are able to classify it, you will save yourself a lot of time. Ano ang pakay natin bilang CPAs? Hindi tayo abogado di ba? CPA. Ang CPA, first contact. Kayo una makakita doon sa kontrata, kayo una makakita sa kung anong problema sa kontrata, kayo una makakita ano ang obligasyon ng mga parties. So bilang CPA, kung nakapag-aralan niyo ang obligations and contracts, alam niyo yung types of obligations, sa inyo pa lang, makikita niyo na kung anong problema, makikita niyo na kung anong advantage ng kumpanya niyo, ng business niyo. Hindi niyo na kailangan po tayo abogado niyo. Alam niyo bakit? Kung pupunta kayo sa legal counsel niyo, papatak ang metro. Opo, kami yung mga abogado, hindi yung nagtatrabaho ng libre. So, papatak ang metro. Kawawa naman yung kumpanya niyo. Si Miss Senyodosa, magaling naman na CPA. Nag-aral na mabuti kay Attorney Balanag. Doon pa lang, nakita niya na. Merong suspensive condition of a personal to deliver a determinate personal thing. Di ba? Paglapit niya kay attorney nila sa kumpanya. Aliyang, galing mo ka. Sa'yo pa lang, solve na yung problema. Di ba? Masaya ang boss nyo. Kasi magaling kayong CPA. That's our objective. So we will go over these kinds of obligations again. So please don't forget it. Hindi to instant erase. So I think we have enough time. Welcome, Charlene. Okay. Welcome, Rizal. Buti naman sumama kayo. What am I supposed to show? Okay. Ito ang outline natin for the period between prelims and midterms. So we will tackle Articles 1232 to 1304. Ngayon, kailangan mag-aral tayo mabuti rito. Kasi importante ito sa business. Huwag na natin sabihin importante ito sa board exams. Ngunit kung kayo ay magbi-business na, kayo ay nagpa-practice na bilang CPA, kayo ay nagpa-practice na bilang, kayo ay nasa business world na, may sarili kayong business. Ito ay importante. Why are we concerned about extinguishment of obligations? Please look at Article 1231. Ang suggestion ko, sundin nyo ako sa libro para maintindihan nyo rin kung ano yung pinag-usapan natin. At kung may tanong kayo, either say it during the class period, which is difficult because we have limited time, or you put it in our our messenger group. And I will try to, like I said, I will try to answer all questions. So far, wala pa nagtatanong. So, ang assumption ko, naiintindihan nyo. Okay. Why are we concerned with extinguishment of obligations? The law does not contemplate hanging transactions. Ayaw ng batas na mayroong transaction na hindi natatapos. Now, I will make an example already, which is the exception. Alam niyo yung condominium. Ala? The condominium is a type of ownership of land and improvement. Improvement means anything that stands on the land. And what usually stands on a piece of land? It is a house or a building. So the most common type of improvement when we talk about land is a house or a building. So yung house of the building na yan, it has to be permanent. Hindi yung, di ba yung mga karpentero pag nagtatrabaho sa bahay o gumagawa ng bahay, meron silang maliit na parang talipapa or whatever, parang hot lang, Hindi yun improvement. Kasi temporary lang yun eh. The improvement is a building or a structure or plants and trees which inhere, I-N-H-E-R-E, inhere, it is stuck to the land. Diba we talked about fruits of property. So when you have property, you are supposed to also consider the fruits. So land, it's one of its fruits and accessories is the building. So no matter how expensive your house is compared to the price of the land, ang rinirehistro nyo sa Register of Deeds, yung register ng lahat ng mga lupang may titulo. Yung may titulo, hindi yung walang titulo. Ang tawag doon Register of Deeds is under the Land Registration Authority or City Administration. I forget. Is the land. Hindi rin rehistro ang improvement. But when you buy the land, you also buy the improvements. Can you sell the improvements without selling the land? Of course you can. But that means the buyer does not own the land and mahirap yun. So balik tayo sa condominium. A condominium is like an apartment. Nahalata niyan. Kung sino sa inyo merong kilalang may condominium o nakatira sa condominium o nakakita na ng condominium. Ang kaibahan ng condominium sa housing project ay ito ay isang gusali lamang. Ito yung pinaghati-hati sa iba't ibang mga bahay. Dalawang klase ang condominium. Meron yung pataas, parang hotel, iba-ibang kwarto, So, yun yung lupa. Tapos may pataas na gusali. Lahat kayo doon may kanya-kanyang unit. Meron din yung townhouse. Yung townhouse na sa lupa. So, meron kang yung lupa, malaki yan, 500 square meters, 1,000 square meters, pinaghati-hati yan. Dito kung saan kami nakatira, dito sa, ang aming lugar kasi ay nasa gitna ng Antipolo at Marikina. So, itong subdivision namin, ang usual na cut, ang usual size ng lupa ay 240 square meters. Pang pang middle class nung unang panahon. Ngayon, alam nyo kasi ngayon, yung palang 240 square meters, pang mayaman na yan. Kasi ang ginagawa ngayon ng mga kapitbahay ko, binibenta nila yung lupa nila. Kasi mga bahay namin luma na eh. Lahat kami luma ang bahay. So binibenta yan, mahal na kasi lupa dito sa lugar namin, Marikina, Antipolo. Yung 240 square meters na yan, hatiin yan sa 2, 3. At yan ay gagawing townhouse. So yan ang townhouse ay isang form of condominium. Ang ibig sabihin yan, hati-hati kayo sa pag-aari. Meron kayong common areas. So yung sinabi ko sa inyo tore na may condominium, syempre, isa lang ang bubong niyan. So lahat kayo, may responsibilidad sa bubong niya. Kung tumutulo yan, lahat kayo magbabayad kahit hindi kayo natutuluan. Kasi kung masira yung pinakamataas na unit, unti-unting bababa yung tubig, maabutan kayo. Diba? Kahit sa ground floor kayo. Ito wala nakatira sa ground floor kasi yung ground floor usually restaurant yan, gano'n. Okay. Bakit tumitira mga tao sa condominium? Dahil napaka-conveniente. Usually mga condominium na yan, malapit sa mall, gano'n, o nasa magandang lugar, madaling sumakay, malapit sa trabaho, sa Ortigas, sa Makati, kaya sila tumitira dyan. The condominium corporation exists only for 50 years. So, remember I was telling, why do you want to extinguish obligations? I told you the law does not want hanging transactions. A 50-year existence for a condominium corporation is a hanging transaction. But, okay lang sa batas yun kasi it has an end after 50 years. After 50 years, the members of the condominium corporation, the homeowners, yung nakatira doon sa mga units na yan, mag-decide sila kung itutuloy ba nila. Ang mahirap dyan kasi, yung gusali, yung mga bagong gawa, I don't think they even last 100 years. So after 50 years, talagang lahat ng homeowners ay gagastos para i-improve yung lugar. It used to be, when they built the first skyscrapers, they would last for hundreds of years. Alam niyo yung kwan, di ba? Alam niyo yung Empire State Building sa New York City. Ginawa yan, 19th century, hanggang ngayon nakatayo pa. Nung natibag yung Twin Towers ng New York City because of the 9/11 terrorist attacks by plane, the Empire State Building became the tallest building again. Because it used to be the Twin Towers. No, it's not. May mas mataas na uli ngayon. Okay, so whether 100 years or 50 years, that will certainly end. Why does the law not want hanging transaction? Transaction na maandar, wala. Maandar, people are happy, gano'n. Why does it want it to end? For one thing kasi, the longer you are in business, dealing with other people, the more there's the chance na magkakagulo kayo. Mag-aasunto kayo sa korte, pupunta kayo sa korte, magkakagulo. Ang gusto ng batas, o kung gusto niyo kumita na kayo, tapos tapusin niyo, tapos mag-start kayo na uli ng ibang transaction. Okay, so that is why the law really requires or provides for extinguishment of obligations. Kaya tayo mga tao, tayong nasa business, tayong mga CPA, tayong mga lawyers, why do we want to know extinguishment of obligations? As CPAs, you want to know when is an obligation extinguished so that you know when to pay. Di ba? Pag tapos na ang obligasyon, magkakabayaran niya or magkakatanggapan na kung ano man yung benepisyo, ano man yung obligasyon doon sa kanilang pinag-usapan. Ano? Ng kumpanya nyo, ng business mo. So this is very important and that is why we spend a lot of time and we will be reading about payment, about datation in payment, about application of payment, session, tender of payment, consignation. Consignation ang pronunciation ho niyan, hindi consignation. Consignation. Loss of the thing, condonation, compensation, novation. Nako, ang sakit ng ulo natin. Nagsisimula pa lang si Attorney Balanag. As a law student, it was also very difficult to understand these things. But when you get out into the real world, you realize how important all of these topics are, especially if your life revolves around contracts and obligations between you, your company, and other people. So if you look at 1231, nandyan na lahat. Ito. Di ba? With anong nahalata nyo? May dagdag. Other causes of extinguishment, in your last paragraph, such as annulment, rescission, fulfillment of a resolutory condition, prescription, are governed elsewhere in the code. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Di ba yung fulfillment of a resolutory condition, nahulog yung donut ko. Sorry, ako lang may donut kayo wala. Doon sa kanto namin kasi may gumagawa ng freshly made donuts, kaso tsambahan I pass her all the time, hindi siya gumagawa. Buti na timingan nila na mayroong gumagawang donut. Okay. Fulfillment of a resolutory condition, pinag-aralan natin yan. So, kasama yan dito sa extinguishment, Prescription, that's a special chapter in the Civil Code. I'll explain that shortly. Rescission, pinag-aralan rin natin yung rescission, di ba? In bilateral or reciprocal obligations. So, i-review nyo yan uli. Kasi, lumabas uli. Now, let me explain. Mali itong Article 1231 because the resolution, the accomplishment of a resolutory condition is not a special type of extinguishment because if you look at Article 1232, the next article of the Civil Code, we talk about payment. Kaya, ladies and gentlemen, remember this if you don't want to remember anything else. Payment is the wrong term. It is actually performance or what they call in American law. American law ito Hindi nyo mahanap to kay De Leon ng De Leon. It's called satisfaction. No, hindi to sexual satisfaction. Hindi to satisfaction pag kumain kayo ng hamburger sa Burger King. Satisfaction means satisfaction of an obligation. That means the two parties who have obligations either to each other or one way or whatever it is are both satisfied. Somehow or the other, each of them got what they each wanted or, please take note, what they deserve. Why do I say what they deserve? Satisfaction includes being sued in court. When you have an obligation and you failed or you are perceived to have failed in carrying out your obligation, you can be sued by the other party. If you breach your contract, you can be sued by the other party. That's called breach of contract. Napaka-importante yan sa mga CPA. Kasi kung may breach of contract, hindi kayo magbabayad. I-withhold yung cheque. Pupunta kayo araw-araw ng liaison officer ng kumpanya na naghahabol ng cheque. Sabihin nyo, hindi pwede. Kasi we are going to sue you on the basis of breach of contract. Pag may breach of contract, kayo as CPA, as controller, as auditor, can withhold the check payment kasi may breach of contract. Go to court. Diba? Pag manalo kayo, babayaran kayo. Hindi lang kayo babayaran ng, halimbawa, ang breach of contract, ina-allege nyo ay 2 million. Hindi lang yung 2 million kasi kumuha kayo abogado. Acceptance fee ni attorney, 250,000. Bukod pa sa kanyang appearance fee, 15,000 per hearing. Paano yan? 3 taon yung kaso, ilang hearing si attorney. Alam mo si attorney, pag sumipot lang yan, kahit reset yung kaso, babayaran mo yan. You know, I've had many hearings. Nagda-drive pa lang ako sa parking. Lalabas na yung kliyente ko, sabihin nila, attorney, wala si judge, nagkasakit. Attorney, nagka-COVID sa korte. Hindi pa ako nakababa ng sasakyan, uwi na ako. Wala nang hearing. I still get paid. Unfortunately for the client. So, you will also collect attorney's fees. You will collect moral damages kung mayroong fraud doon sa breach of contract. When there is a fraud in the breach of contract, the party is entitled to moral damages and other consequential damages. Itong desisyon ng korte na, ang Celajes and Hermanas Company ay entitled sa award na 2 million pesos plus 100,000 attorney's fees plus 150,000 pesos consequential damages against Arabit Construction Corporation. What is the effect of this decision? It puts an end to the obligation. Di ba? Kung ano man yung pagkukulang ni Mr. Arabit, kay Ms. Selahes sa kumpanya nila. Doon sa decision na yun, if assuming that the court decision covers all of their obligations, is binding on both parties, that's the end of it. Is that not satisfaction? Di ba? Hindi yan na ituro dito sa mga libro. The way I see it, if I were to write this book, tingnan nyo atong note ko rito, effect of court's judgment. A court judgment on an issue raised by the parties regarding their obligations is a form of payment. It is performance or satisfaction of the obligation. Correct? Wrong. Nanalo ka nga sa korte. Nanalo ang Selahes y Hermanas Kumpanya. Ganun yung mga kumpanya noon sa unang panahon. Selahes and sisters or brothers. Hermanos y Hermanas. H is silent in Spanish. May judgment ka nga. Selahes y Hermanas. But the next part is to satisfy judgment. And you can only satisfy a court decision's judgment by what is called execution. Hindi ito yung si Jose Rizal dinadala sa Bagong Bayan. Hindi ito si yung mahilig ng extrajudicial killing na sentensya ng International Criminal Court sa The Hague. Dadalhin na siya sa life imprisonment doon sa The Hague. Ang ganda ng preso sa The Hague. Hindi tulad ng preso natin dito. But that is not the execution I meant. Execution means the carrying out of the court's judgment. So meron tayong judgment, di ba? May decision. But it is not automatic. Kailangan puntahan mo yung kalaban mo at kunin mo kung ano yung dapat mong kunin sa kanya. Unless voluntarily silang magbayad. Now, I have won and I have executed against my opponents and I have lost and I have been executed against. Ang aking prinsipyo to my clients is, kung talong-talo na, wala na talaga, nakabot hanggang Supreme Court, magbayad na lang. Let's be civilized about it. Tapos na usapan, bakit pa natin pahirapan yung kabila? They won, they were right, and we were wrong. Hey, but that's not always true. So, execution of a court decision is final satisfaction in terms of what I've been talking about. So, please read Article 1232. It tells you what is the fulfillment of the obligation. That's the most important form of extinguishment of an obligation. Fulfillment, performance, satisfaction, execution of court decision if it came to a court, di ba? When we are contracting parties, when we are parties with obligations to another party, or when we are the obligee receiving an obligation from another, we are all interested in Article 1232. We want the obligation to be satisfied. We want the obligation to be fulfilled so that we are personally satisfied. And we can be satisfied in many ways. Please look at Article 1235. That is constructive performance. When somebody accepts fulfillment of an obligation, even if it was not strictly in the same terms as that which they had originally contemplated or contracted for, is umangal eh. Halimbawa, think I've talked to, okay. I'm just seeing sino hindi ko masyado pang kilala eh. Ninyo Talanay, are you with us? Mr. Talanay, yeah. Please turn on your mic.
Hello po, sir.
Okay, hello. Yung tinitirhan mo, Mr. Talanay, yan ba ay bahay nyo o nangungupahan kayo?
Bahay po namin, sir.
Okay, so halimbawa yung banyo nyo, alam niyo yung banyo kung minsan nababara, di ba?
Opo.
Meron ba sa inyo marunong mag-ayos ng banyo kung nabara? Yan sa inyo? Matanong ko lang, huwag mo sagutin kung masyadong private.
Meron naman po, sir. Pero hindi po literal.
Oo, mas malamang Mr. Talanay, mabuti pang kumuha na lang ng tao, di ba? Yung plumber talaga, di ba?
Opo, sir.
Dahil sa TESDA, marami ng klaseng plumber. Siyempre, ang gusto natin kunin yung master plumber. Yung master plumber, yun yung pinakamahal. Siguro bawat araw niyan, 750, 1,000. Yung mga iba, 1,250 kasi magaling talaga. Kung ayaw nyo magka-problema sa plumbing nyo, kukuha na lang kayo magaling-galing, di ba? Kasi kukuha kayo ng hindi magaling, hindi pa rin naayos yung problema. So, Mr. Talanay, kumuha kayo ng plumber para maayos yung bara. Maapaw yung CR. Siyempre, pangit nun. Marumi yung tubig. Yung drain, hindi ko alam anong drain sa Tagalog eh. Barado. Inayos niya. Ngunit yung CR, medyo may konti pa rin lumalabas na konting dumi. Ngunit sabi naman ni Manong Plumber, alam niyo ho kasi, lang yan siguro yung gas. Alam niyo Poso Negro kasi may gas yan eh. May gas yan. Tayong lahat, tuwing ginagamit natin yung ating nilalagay sa Poso Negro, nagkakaroon yan ng gas. It's called methane. CH4, if you remember your chemistry in high school. And that causes pressure on the system. So sinabi naman ng plumber, Mr. Talanay, ninyo, pagbiyahan mo na ako, i-flash nyo lang i-flash. Pagkatapos ng 1 linggo, okay na yan. Ikaw binayaran mo siya. Magkano ba, Manong? Master plumber ako, 750 ang aking bayad bawat araw. Meron pa akong problema. Wala na yan. Pagkatapos ng 5 araw, sabi ni Manong Plumber, flash nyo na lang flash. Pag nawala na yung gas, kasi lalabas nyo naman talaga yung gas, wala na yung problema na yun sa CR. So, sabi mo, sige bayaran ko kayo. That is an example of, thank you Mr. Talanay, I just used this as an example. That's an example of constructive performance. You have accepted the performance, although it's not exactly 100% what you wanted. Does that extinguish the obligation? It does. What is the principle? It is called, and this is not in your book either, it is called equitable estoppel. Estoppel. Equitable estoppel, or what we call in law, it's in Latin, estoppel in pais. It is the principle of equity that a person cannot take advantage of something which he has cost himself. Diba? Ikaw yung tumanggap ng trabaho ni Manong, Mr. Talanay. Ngayon, kung after 5 days, hindi pa rin naayos yung problema, hindi mo pwede sabihin hindi niya natapos yung trabaho niya. Kasi tinanggap mo binayaran mo na siya. Ngayon, kung matino siyang tao, babalik siya para ayusin, back job, di ba? Kahit na hindi, ang tingin ng batas dyan, the mere fact that tinanggap mo na yung kanyang trabaho, although hindi yun 100% yung pinag-usapan nyo, kasi mayroon pang konting problema, that is acceptable performance on the principle of equitable estoppel. I'm not going to have an exam on these terms. I just want you to remember them para pagpunta nyo sa law school. At tinanong kayo ng inyong professor on contracts. Si Ms. Tibay, alam yung equitable estoppel? Estoppel in pais ang sinabi. Saan kaya niya natutunan niya? Saan ba nag-graduate ito? URS. Ang galing pala ng URS. You brought honor to your school. as well as to yourself. Okay. So, if you look at 1232, payment is not simply exchange of money or payment of by money. It is performance of anything required in the obligation, or technically not to do if the obligation is not to do. Diba? It is compliance with all of the conditions as well as all of the periods stated in the obligation subject to 1234. 1234 pala na 1235. Hindi get 1235. 1235 now. 1234. I'll talk about 1234 naman. It is so when we talk about satisfaction, it is compliance with the obligation in full. Such that when there is incomplete compliance by one of the other parties, that the party who is dissatisfied, wala siyang satisfaction can sue and can collect damages. Damages is the term we use for monetary award based on some misdeed or some obligation under the law. So when there's a failure to comply with an obligation, it is attended by fraud, delay, all of these things, the other party is entitled to damages. We do not use the term damages to describe earthquakes. No matter how many earthquakes there are, there's only one term for it, damage. Okay. This is the same thing as 1233. And how do we avoid any doubt that an obligation has been fully satisfied? Di ba? Para hindi naman tayo maasunto, maka-question later on. Tulad ng example kay Mr. Talanay kanina. Si Manong Plumber, paano niya masasabi? Baka mamaya, aangal na naman yung pamilya ni Mr. Talanay. Ano ang gagawin dapat ni Mr. Plumber para meron siyang pruweba na, uy, bayad na ako, tapos na yung trabaho ko. Magpapagawa kayo uli sa akin. Kung iba na naman problema yan, ibang bayad yan. Ano ang dapat niyang gawin? Miss Ulang, what do you think? Miss Ulang, are you with us?
Yes po.
Okay.
Sir, dapat pong i-make sure na na nagawa na po talaga bago po siya.
Oo, nagawa. Di ba? Nandun si Mr. Talanay, nandun yung plumber, nandun yung buong pamilya ni Mr. Talanay. Nakita nila, okay, ayos na. Wala nang tulo, wala nang bara. Ngayon si Mr. Plumber, anong katiyakan niya na baka balikan nito yung Mr. Talanay? Mga barangay pa ako rito. Masira yung aking reputation dito bilang master plumber. Mr. Lilang, you are... Wait, I cannot find my cursor. Palagay mo, Miss Ulang. Anong kan? Pagsakay mo sa bus, o sa... Ewan ko, I've never ridden yung modern jeepney hindi ko alam kung anong sistema dyan. Alam ko, electronic yung iba dyan Wait, sa bus, Miss Ulang, anong pruweba mo na nagbayad ka kung may dumating na inspector?
Resibo po.
Hindi resibo. Ano tawag doon? Di ba bibigyan ng ticket? Di ba biso lang?
Yes po.
Oo. Kailangan may ticket para pakita mo sa konduktor o sa inspector na nagbayad ka. Kung wala kang ticket, magdududa yung inspector sa'yo. Ganon rin si Mr. Plumber. Ganon rin ang obligor at obligee. Dapat meron silang kasulatan, some form of evidence, preferably written, that the obligation has been complied with. Now, you will study this next sem. when you take up negotiable instruments. The primary form of a negotiable instrument is a bank check. And what is the proof that the amount on the bank check has been satisfied? It is when the check is canceled by the bank. Diba? Nakita niyo naman cheque? Pay to the order of Attorney Balanag. Ibig sabihin yan, bayaran ako. May date. Kung kailan ako dapat bayaran. Nandun yung amount in words and in letters. May signature ng payor. Yung taong nagbabayad sa akin. Diba? Ako yung tagatanggap kasi ako yung nakapangalan as payee. When I bring that check with my name in it and the correct date, correct amount, correct form of check, when I bring that to the bank, thank you, Ms. Ulang, and I have it encashed. Sabihin natin it's for 10 million pesos kasi nagsusupply ako ng laptop sa DepEd. Meron akong konting racket. 10 million. Natanggap ko yung 10 million. What is the proof nung nagbayad sa akin na nakuha ko na yung 10 million? It is the canceled check. The bank will now cancel the check because it already gave the money and will return the check to the payer. The payer now has proof that the other party has been paid. Although maybe as CPAs, you will also require the issuance of an official receipt because that is required naman not under the Civil Code but under the Internal Revenue Code. The NERC, the National Internal Revenue Code, requires the issuance of an official receipt for most business transactions. But that is not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is what is your proof of payment in a negotiable instrument situation with a bank check. It is the cancellation of the check itself, which is the proof of payment. Okay. Let's go to 1234 because ito yung one eh. 1234 is not in the Spanish Civil Code. This is an innovation. Alam niyo kasi when they wrote the new Civil Code, which is really quite old, in the 1930s pa yan. Our legal system then was very weird. Our foremost legal experts had studied under the Spanish system. So they studied Spanish law. In fact, many of the laws during the 20s and even up to the 30s, nakaabot pa yun ng law school. Meron kami Spanish cases were written in Spanish. But who was the authority over the Philippines during this time? Ms. Tongohan. Naalala ba natin ang Philippine history? Huwag natin kalimutan ang Philippine history. Pag tayo nakakalimot, tayo babalikan ng mga puwersa ng impyerno. Ms. Tongohan, are you with us?
Yes po, sir.
Noong panahon ng 1920s, sino ba ang authority dito sa Pilipinas? Kastila pa rin ba? 1920s, 1930 hanggang 1946. Sino ba?
Hindi na po Kastila.
Sino kaya?
Americans na po.
Americans. The Americans put in the American legal system, but they did not put in all of the entire American legal system. We never had jury trial. In the United States, for most cases, it is heard by a jury, not just by a judge. So a jury is 9 people or 12 people who will decide on who is right and who is wrong, not the judge. The judge only writes the decision. The decision is made by the jury. But they never introduced that here because they thought Filipinos were ignorant. And they didn't want any American to be tried by a Filipino jury. Kasi mayabang yung mga Amerikano. But, yung mga nag-aral sa Harvard, sa Yale, dito sila nagpunta. So, our legal system was a mishmash. Naghalo Spanish, naghalo American. This is 1234 is one of those American innovations. Substantial compliance. Ito ang mahirap dito. Who is to determine what is substantial compliance? Assuming you do not put into effect 1235, di ba? Constructive performance. Ayaw mong tanggapin. Halimbawa, Miss Tungohan, nagpatayo ka ng bahay sa isang subdivision na maganda. Diyan sa Binangonan, dami ng magandang subdivision diyan pala. Grabe ang Binangonan ngayon. Ano? Tapos, sabi nila, Miss Tungohan, congrats kagagraduate nyo lang ng CPA exams, vice president na kayo kaagad itong kumpanya. Ito ang house and lot nyo, gagawa na namin yan ng magandang bahay. Ano? Pag-deliver ng bahay sa inyo, binigay ko, sige, punta ko kayo dito sa linggo, turnover natin yung unit. Pagpunta mo, nakita na nahihalta mo Miss Tungohan na yung ibang bintana, hindi pa nailagay. Yung kusina, kulang ng tiles. Yung banyo, wala pa yung nagpalagay kayo ng division. Alam niyo, yung mga ganda, yung mga glass division ng shower, no? O, hindi pa nalagay. Ayaw mong tanggapin. Di ba, Miss Tungohan? Sabihin naman ng developer yung gumawa ng bahay, Miss Tungohan naman, madali na yan. Turnover na tayo para tapos na yung usapan, mabayaran na rin kami. Gagawin namin yan. Do you think that is substantial compliance, Miss Tungohan, yung sitwasyon na yan doon sa bahay na binibili mo?
Hindi po. Kasi dapat, di ba pagka po pumasok po sa agreement, dapat po ang makuha ng both parties is yung mismong napag-usapan.
Yes! Tama ka. At hindi nila binibigay yung napag-usapan, di ba? So, ayaw mong sabihin na substantial compliance yan. And ganito kasi, Miss Tungohan, sasabihin ng developer, 99.99% tapos na yan. Ayan na, nagawa na namin. Cathedral ceiling, yung mga recessed lighting ng mga LED, o yung installation para sa chandelier na gusto nyo, Miss Tungohan, yung garage with paved stones. Di ba? Yan ang gusto mo, paved stones, hindi semento. Nagawa na namin. 99.9% na ho kami. Sino kaya magde-determine dyan kung meron substantial compliance? Miss Tungohan. Paano yan? Ano mangyayari dyan? Ikaw ayaw mo kasi hindi pa tapos na tapos. Si developer gusto niya kasi sabi niya 99.9% na eh. Tapos. Paano yan? Let's call somebody else. Miss Moreno, I'm not grading you. I just want to keep you awake. Same problem, Miss Moreno. Yun yung apartment, sa'yo na, yung bahay, ayun sa'yo naman. Sa'yo binibenta. Ayaw mo kasi mayroon pa mga hindi pa nagawa. Bintana, tiles, yung gusto mong shower enclosure, hindi pa nagawa. Mahal yun, ha? Siguro yun pa lang, 15,000 na. Paano yan, Miss Moreno? Paano maayos yung problema? Ang sabi ng kabila, substantial compliance under Article 1234. Ikaw, gusto mo 1232, full compliance. Paano yan?
Sir, good afternoon po. Sir, di ko po tatanggapin yung offer nila.
Paano yan? Gusto nila ikaw magbayad. Hindi, gusto nila, ikaw rin, gusto mo mag-move in kasi nangungupahan ka lang. Siyempre, gusto mo may sarili kang bahay, masama mo yung mga magulang mo, mga kapatid mo, di ba? Any dispute involving construction is arbitrated before the SIAC, the Construction Industry Administrative Council, something like SIAC or SIAP. In other words, any dispute between builder and buyer is arbitrated. So yun ang solution dyan. And what does this tell us, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Moreno, tungkol sa ating lesson ngayon? Itong substantial compliance, minefield yan. You know minefield? Alam niyo yung mine? Yung mine kasi ay pasabog yan. Nakakapatay o na nakakasira ng tangke, nakakasira ng truck. You know, it is buried into the ground para hindi makita. So hindi mo alam, naglalakad ka, Nakapa ka ng mine. Yung mine kasi hindi sasabog kaagad pag napakan mo. Sasabog yan pag alis ng iyong paa. Kasi meron niyang fuse. Yung fuse, pressure. Pag apak mo, hindi pa yung sasabog. At alam mong patay ka na. Yeah? Kasi pag alis mo ng iyong sapatos, ng iyong paa, sasabog yan. Patay ka na. Of course, there are other types of mines. There are mines that respond to magnetic. There are command detonation mines. But what I mean when we say it's a minefield is, ang daming problema pwede mangyari dyan. Daming magkakasiraan dyan. This provision in 1234 is a minefield. It is dangerous. Because when one party, like I gave you the example kanina kay Ms. Moreno, she wants full satisfaction. Of course, that's her right. Under 1232. The developer wants to be paid because it is also claiming under 1234 substantial compliance. Paano maayos yan? Sa korte lang. Yun ang mahirap uli. Sana automatic na lang, di ba? Sana meron ibang paraan na maayos kung ano yung ibig sabihin ng substantial compliance na hindi kailangan dumaan sa korte. Anong posibleng solusyon para mas klaro itong 1234 substantial compliance, Ms. Moreno? Just think about it. I know the answer, but I don't expect you to know it. Ms. Moreno?
Sir, ano pa, paulit po.
Ano ang pwede natin gawin para hindi na tayo kailangan pumunta sa korte? At alam natin, ng dalawang parties, halimbawa, yung gumagawa ng bahay mo at saka ikaw na nagpapagawa ng bahay, alam natin ano ibig sabihin ng substantial compliance. Anong solusyon yan na hindi na tayo kailangan pumunta sa korte? Kasi alam niyo, punta kayo sa korte, pupunta kayo doon sa arbitration. Parang korte rin yan, arbitration eh. Parang korte rin yan, you present evidence. Kaso ang nakaupo, hindi judge, kundi isang engineer o isang abogado. Yan ang ibig sabihin ng arbitration sa construction. So, mas mabilis yan kaysa sa korte. Kaso hassle pa rin yun kasi alam nyo bakit? May bayad yung arbitrator. May bayad. Kayo magbabayad, mga parties. So, syempre, hassle yun. Di ba? Do people still say hassle? Hassle yun. Ano kaya solusyon dyan, Ms. Moreno?
Sir, ano po, mag-comply po both parties.
Hindi nga, ngunit nga sinasabi ng isa, substantial compliance na yan. Alam mo, you cannot blame the developer. Kasi gumastos sila, nagbayad sila ng mga tao, nakautang lang yung mga pyesa, yung mga materials na ginamit nila. So kung kayo naman yung empleyado ng developer, maintindihan nyo rin na 99.9% compliance na kami. Hindi pa ba sapat yun? Abulin na lang namin yung bintana, abulin na lang namin shower close. Shower close, isasalpak lang namin yan. Wala pang isang oras yan. Mas matagal pa nga yung pagpunas ng glass kaysa pagsalpak yan sa shower stall. Di ba? So tama rin sila. Paano natin maayos ang problema yan? The solution, ladies and gentlemen, is to specify in the contract what is substantial compliance. You should have a good lawyer. Para, alam nyo kasi, kung makikita nyo to pag bumili na kayo ng bahay. Meron niyang progressive billing. Ang tawag natin dyan, progressive billing. Ako pwede isulat. Okay, Ms. Moreno, ha? Sulat ko lang to. Sa kontrata nyo yan, pag nagpagawa kayo ng bahay, progressive billing. Ibig sabihin yan, magbabayad kayo according to how much progress has been made. So halimbawa, para siyang installment. Halimbawa, tayo lang nila yung bubong. Mahirap yung pagtayo ng bubong kasi hindi ko alam bakit inuuna muna nila yung bahay bago yung bubong. Dapat unahin nila yung bubong, di ba? Para hindi sila nababasa o naiinitan. Kasi okay, middle of the construction yung bubong. So nailagay yung bubong, yan ang first pro-constructive billing. Magbabayad kayo ng, sabihin natin, 250,000 pesos. Ano yung next stage ng progressive billing? Pag nalagay na yung mga bintana at saka mga haligi. Ano? So yan, next 200,000 pesos. Hanggang matapos yung bahay. Ibig sabihin, walang 99.9% substantial compliance. Kasi kung dumating kayo sa last billing, huli na, di ba? Natapos na yung iba. Meron na nakalagay na dyan, installation of paved stones for carport. Done. Paid. Di ba? Installation of recessed lighting LED. Done. Paid. Di ba? So walang substantial compliance. Kasi kung merong kulang, halimbawa sa next billing nila, final billing, installation of shower stall, installation of decorative tiles, installation of chandelier fittings, at hindi nila ginawa, walang substantial dyan. Hindi ka magbabayad hanggang nagawa nila. Di ba? Why is this advantageous for the builder, the developer? Nababayaran siya at least unti-unti. Di ba? He can pay his creditors, yung hardware, kung saan siya kumuha ng mga tiles, kung saan siya kumuha ng LED lights, kung saan niya kukunin yung shower stall na gawa ng glass. At least pwede na siya mag-down payment o magbayad ng, hindi siya mapapaalanganin naman. Alam niyo, yung business kasi delikado eh. Maglalawas ka ng kapital mo, hindi mo alam kung babalik yan. Diba? Kaya kailangan sigurista ka. So you are, as a developer, as a builder, gusto mo rin yung progressive billing kasi that removes any doubt on what is substantial compliance. Diba? Kaya halimbawa, nailagay doon, last progressive billing, installation of glass shower stall. Diba? Na-install nga ni developer yung glass shower stall. Kaso, alam mo yung glass shower stall, may pintuan niya na glass. Di ba? Medyo hindi siya straight eh. May problema yan. Siguro made in China yung hinges. Medyo askew siya. Medyo banking. So, nung pumunta si Miss Moreno, tinesting niya yung shower stall. Baka matrap ako dito sa loob habang naliligo eh. Hindi nagsisarado mabuti yung pintuan na hindi ko mabuksan pag nasa loob ako. But it's been installed. Yun ang progressive billing. Nakalagay installation of shower stall. Magbabayad ka ngayon. Not on the principle of substantial compliance, but because it is what's stated in the contract. Installed eh. Hindi naman sinabing 100% nag-work. Ano mangyari dito? Si developer magpapadala ng tao. Ayusin mo nga yan. Bakit siya hindi pantay? Si Miss Moreno hindi makalabas siya sa shower stall. Baka buong isang linggo siya doon sa loob. Ilang tao nang gumagamit ng siya, nandoon pa rin siya sa loob. Di ba? Yan ang mahirap. So, that is 1234. Now we will jump ahead. Teka na, may nalaktawan ba ako? Ito ang mga portions dito on effect of payment to a third person and effect of payment. In other words, when you comply with your obligation to a third person or a third person pays you instead of the person with whom you contracted with, basahin nyo na lang. First, I'll tell you, in 30 plus years of law practice, it's very rare that you will see this. So why do we study the provisions of 1236, 1237, 1238, Why do we study those? Only for the board exams. Not very practical. So you just study it, basahin nyo na lang. De Leon has a very good way of explaining these provisions. Lalaktawan na natin yan. I will just bore you by repeating what is already said. Gagawin ko pa mas complicated. Okay. We have to clear up a few terms, ano? In 1240, we have the term successor in interest. In law, especially in contract law, especially in civil law, we have the term, and I will write it down. Please take note in your notes, successor in interest. Or another term is assign. The obligation of a person in interest of a person who is part of an obligation is the performance. So it's either he is the obliger and has to give something or to do something, diba? Or he's the obligee and has to receive something, or something is done for or to himself, diba? So this interest, the interest to receive something or the interest to give something, may be assigned. And the person who receives it is the assignee. The assignee, halimbawa ako, si Miss Peñola. Miss Peñola, are you present? Alam niyo yung yung mga online selling, ang lakas ng online selling ngayon, Miss Peñola. Are you familiar with that? Alam niyo ito mahirap pag hindi kayo nagla-live eh. I don't really know what you're doing. Baka naglalabas si Miss Peñola, naabala ko pa siya. Mahirap ba ang signal? Mr. Lilang, Dexter, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
Oh, alam mo yung online selling, di ba?
Yes po.
So halimbawa lang, you're selling something. Halimbawa, ano magandang ibenta sa online? Mga pantalon. Ang daming
Mga damit po, sir.
Alam mo yung mga damit ng mga nasa K-pop, nasa K-dramas. Alam mo,
Opo, sir.
you're a young person, Mr. Lilang. So alam mo yung usong pantalon. Bumalik ulit yung pantalon na yung...
Mga rip-rip jeans po, sir.
Hindi yon yung...
Yung mga loose, sir.
Hindi loose. Ang sikip nga eh. Ang sikip, di ba? Yung mga pantalon ng mga K-pop ngayon. Ang sisikip, they're almost like leggings. Yun ang uso sa mga young Korean males daw ngayon. Eh. So yan ang binibenta mo, no? And you expect to earn a lot of money from that, ano? So, paano yung sistema ng pagbayad sa online, Mr. Dexter? At alam mo ba kung paano?
Sir, pwede pong cash on delivery o kaya pwede rin naman po, sir, na through online din po.
Online yung GCash, alam mo yung GCash, di ba?
Opo, GCash po.
So halimbawa cash o COD, kasi alam mo yung maraming diskumpiyado. Ako sa Shopee, lagi ako COD. Kasi mahirap yung nakabayad ka na, hindi mo pa natatanggap yung kasangkapan, hindi mo na ako mandaraya. Di ba?
Kaya nga po, sir.
Ako ng Shopee, right away, sabi ko, authorized payment. Bayad ako kaagad. Kasi yun ang obligasyon ko, di ba? Okay naman yung binili ko. O mukhang made in China naman. Mukhang hindi magtatagal ng isang taon. Okay na yun. Mura naman eh. Okay. Cash on delivery. So, nagpadala ka ng mga 3 K-pop style ng mga pantalon. Binigay nila yung size nila. bayad sila. Hindi ka makapunta eh. Ito yung meet up, di ba? Meet up, mag-meet up kayo sa McDo. Tapos alam mo yung cellphone number ng kabila, alam niya yung cellphone number mo. Hindi mo naman alam mukha niya, hindi niya alam mukha mo. Magkikita kayo, di ba, Dexter?
Opo, sir. Meet up, meet up.
Oh, kaso hindi ka makapunta kasi si girlfriend mo nagtampo. Nagtampo sa'yo. Sinabi niya, pag hindi mo ako samahan sa simbahan, di na tayo, quits na tayo. Huwag ka lang magpakita sa bahay. Siyempre, sasamahan mo, di ba? Ang
Siyempre
misa,
po, sir.
ewan ko anong religion ng girlfriend mo, ang misa nila, 4 na oras. Oh, so, hindi ka makapunta. Pinadala mo si kaibigan mo, si Elizarine Manintim.
Manintim.
Oh, si Miss Manintim ang pinadala mo. Kasi business partner mo naman si Miss Manintim. Kayo nagkapital, di ba? May 1,000 siya, may 1,000 ka, bumili kayo ng mga galing Korea, kayo nagbebenta, kayo nagmamarket. So hindi ka makapunta, yung business partner mo na lang pupunta. Hindi sa kanya mapupunta yung pera. Ano? Kasi share mo yun eh. At siya pinadala mo. Yan ang ibig sabihin, magbabayad ba yung seller sa kanya? Oo, dahil pinayagan mo, di ba? Kasi si Miss Manintim is your assignee. Yan ang example dyan, class.
Opo.
Pero specific authorization from the obligor, no? Kasi obligor. Na itong si Miss Manintim ang tatanggap ng bayad, di ba? She is the successor in interest. Kaya kahit na wala na sa business si Mr. Dexter kasi sabi niya, wala, kailangan mag-concentrate sa academics. Distraction itong, maganda yung kita sa online, kaso apektuhan yung grades ko. So bigay ko na lang yung business kay Miss Manintim. She's now the successor in interest. So kahit ano man yung mga sales na ginawa ni Mr. Lilang noon, na babayaran pa lang, di-deliver pa lang, babayad pa lang yung tao, pwede lang ibayad kay Miss Manintim kasi she is the successor in interest. So yan ang importante sa term na to. And that is how we understand 1240. When you pay to the person who is the primary obligee, you can also pay to the successor in interest as long as it is clear, no? That he has authority. Ang importante lang naman dito is authority to receive. So that is what 1240 is about. We are getting to the part which is difficult and we just have about enough time to tackle it. So here we talk about constructive performance? 1235, yeah, we did. Okay, so itong 1245 is related kasi to 1244. The debtor of a thing cannot compel the creditor to receive a different item, even if the item seems to be more valuable, or the same value. Likewise, when the obligation is to do or not to do, you cannot do something else, even if it is more meaningful or more useful, or according to you, it's substantial compliance, because that is not, we go back to 1232, that is not full satisfaction. Now, there is a mode of payment which is called dation in payment, which is 1245. Dation in payment, or in Spanish, please take this down, because you will encounter this in credit if I'm the one teaching it again next time. Dación, C in Spanish is pronounced TH. Dación and pago. Dation in payment. Dation in payment means si Mr. Lilang at saka yung kanyang buyer, ang usapan dyan, ang bayaran dyan, cash, di ba? He's selling pants, and he expects cash kasi he will keep that cash to keep the business rolling and also to assist profits. Di ba? So, klaro yon. May halimbawa si buyer. Gusto niya yung pantalon, nag-order siya 5. Siguro ang halaga dyan, mga 3,000 piso. 4,000 piso kasi yung isa talagang leopard print pa. Alam mo yung leopard print? I don't know if anybody would use a leopard print pants, especially if they're male. But anyway, I don't know what young people use nowadays. So sabihin natin na 4,000 piso. Si buyer lumapit kay Dexter, nag-meet up sila sa McDo. Nag-meet up sila dyan sa Jollibee dyan sa Binangonan. Kita sila. Binigay ni Dexter yung 5 pantalon. Sinabi ni buyer, Brad, medyo kapos ako ngayon eh.
Utang muna, sir.
Ayaw mong utang! Oo, utang eh. Meron ka obligasyon rin, di ba? Yung girlfriend mo, high maintenance. Ano ka ba? Ayaw mong utang. Alok niya yung kanyang cellphone. Okay naman yung cellphone niya kasi Vivo. Yeah, Vivo. New model pa naman. Okay naman. Walang crack. Tinesting mo na pag-internet, di ba? So sinabi niya, Brad, tanggapin mo na lang to. Alam mo kung benta mo to, mahina 5,000, Vivo to eh. Kaso, kapos na talaga ako. Kailangan ko yung mga pandala kasi may audition ako, papasok ako ng talent. Kaya kailangan ko yung mga magagandang pandala mo. Okay na sa akin yung cellphone. Kahit mawala yan, pag natanggap ako sa trabaho to, 2 cellphone pang ganyan bibiliin ko. Kaya okay lang sa akin, Brad, kunin mo yung cellphone. Ang halaga niya 5,000. Under the previous provisions, you can refuse, di ba? Because you are not, as the creditor, you're not compelled to receive anything else but that which you contracted. And you contracted funds for cash, di ba? Not something else.
Tama po.
May halimbawa, si Mr. Lee lang, mabait, bukod sa mabait siyang tao, kasi mukha siya mabait dito sa kanyang profile picture, practical pa na tao. Oo nga no. Kunin ko itong 4,000 lang naman to, kunin ko itong Vivo. Tama-tama meron akong pinsan na ganap ng cellphone. Gusto niya yung maganda, Oppo, Vivo, ganyan. Bibenta ko sa kanya 5,200. Tubo pa ako. Nakabenta na ako ng 5 pantalon. Nakatubo pa ako. Tatanggapin ko. That satisfies the payment. That satisfies the obligation. That extinguishes the obligation between Mr. Lilang and the buyer if they both agree to it. Diba? But that is not payment. Because payment is that which is stated in or what was agreed to in the obligation. Now, what is the obligation? Sell pants for cash. Dito, sell pants for cellphone. Wala yung usapan. But it extinguishes the obligation. Why? If you read 12:45, it's because essentially what happened is a sale. Datation in payment is considered by law a sale. Please remember that when you take up credit. And in Oblicon, dasyon and pago is really a form of novation. Please go over Articles 1291 to 1304, which we will not study today. Huwag kayong mahilo muna. Ha? Dito lang muna kayo mahilo sa payment. So, dasyon and pago extinguishes the obligation not because it is a form of payment, not because it is in performance of the obligation, not because there is satisfaction. There is satisfaction. Mr. Lilang sapi. But it is not satisfaction of the original terms of the agreement. Instead, what happened is there is a novation of the agreement. The old agreement was set aside and a new agreement was entered into such that Mr. Lilang exchanged 5 pairs of pants for a Vivo telephone. That is called a novation. And novation is one of the forms of extinguishing an obligation. So 1245 is there to tell you that although you can receive something else, if both parties agree, what you receive is property. This is only an obligation to give. There can only be dasyon and pago in obligations to give, obligations to pay. Diba? Pay in cash, for example. So instead of cash, the debtor pays in kind. And when the debtor pays in kind and the creditor agrees to it, the obligation is extinguished, not because there is specific performance, not because there is satisfaction, although both parties are satisfied in the generic sense, but because of novation, because dasyon and pago is a form of sale. Mr. Lilang exchanged the 5 pairs of pants for a telephone instead of cash. So that is still a sale. So our next topic is application of payment. But I think the assignment I'm giving you tomorrow will go back to some of the kinds of conditions, obligations we've taken up in the past. And like I told you, I would like to go back to those topics because not only are they complicated, not only do they involve a lot of terms, but the board exams are fond of taking questions from those topics. So I would want you to be more capable, more at ease with those topics than you have shown me in your exams and exercises, okay? I'm not very happy with your exams and exercises. I think that people should have done more. But I do not really blame you, I blame me. Because that means I was not able to motivate you to study our topic better. So now I am going to motivate you to study because we will have what is effectively a quiz every Sunday. I'll give you the results. But like I told you, ang sistema natin dito, instead of treating this as quizzes, pagsasama-sama ko yan because I will have an activity for each of these topics here on the screen, such that all of these little quizzes will form your midterms. No? Ngayon, kung talagang ang feeling ko ay kulang pa kayo sa pag-aaral, baka magdagdag pa ako ng questions. Meron talagang formal midterms. Depende kung gaano ako kademonyo sa panahon na yon. So please, the easiest way to learn this is to follow me as we go along, and follow me in the Civil Code, in De Leon. You'll be able to more or less understand this, I guarantee you. If you note the things that are not in the book, like I told you, this term of satisfaction, the term of discharge of parties, when the obligation is satisfied, both parties are discharged. They have no more obligation to each other unless there's an novation or unless they contract again. You know? This term of equitable estoppel and pies, it's not in the book. This effect of court judgment, it's not in the book. It's based on my knowledge as a practitioner of the law. So we'll study application of payments next. That is your reading assignment. And then maybe for Sunday, we will have ito kasing session, payment by session is very, very short. It's just one article. So Sunday na rin yon next week. And then we'll take up all of these other topics. We'll have enough time for all of these other topics, as well as examples, therefore. I'm really sorry. I'm not only because of the birthday of my wife and me, but because I have a problem in Baguio. We have a house in Baguio, and our tenant is telling me that the house is leaking. So I have to go up to Baguio, take care of that, and I think I have also to pay the real estate tax. So I'll be busy. I may have to go up during the weekend. So I will conduct my class from Baguio City, or I will pre-videotape it, because the signal in Baguio City, kahit na smart ka or Globe or whatever, is terrible. Terrible. It's probably worse than Binangonan. So might be difficult to conduct a class from Baguio City. Besides which, I probably won't stay long. We just go up and see to it that we can hire somebody to fix whatever the problem is. Our house is almost as old as me. So really, it requires some fixing up. Although it survived the 1990 earthquake. In 1990, all of us were already working or studying in Metro Manila. And the only ones living in Baguio were my parents, my father and mother. My mother was still teaching. She was a public school teacher. But my father decided to go down to Metro Manila to visit us before the earthquake. And when the earthquake struck, it was only my mother who was left behind. And I was really so scared for her. That tama-tama naman, I was working at the DSWD as a legal officer at the DSWD. I was directly working for the secretary of the DSWD. And I asked to be priority passenger on the C-130 bound for Baguio. Nakarating ako, after one day, nakarating ako sa Baguio. I saw my mom. The house was intact, but all of our things inside, many of our things inside were broken. But my mom was okay, so that's the important thing. So now I have to take care of my mother's house. So I'll be quite busy this week. I hope I can finish checking your papers. Ganito ang deal natin. If I'm not too happy kasi with the exams, so I'll have to think of an activity where you can make up. So I will do that because like I told you, I don't want people to drop. I don't want people to fail. Kung babagsak kayo, at least have complete notes, complete notes, so that if you have to take it again, hindi ako pagbibintangan ng teacher nyo, hindi ako nagturo. Have complete notes because I'm sure that there is nothing that is worth learning that I will not take up. Okay, the rest is up to you to read. So, please give me time to finish giving you the results. I know that I've not submitted it to the administration. I don't even know. I think I'm supposed to log in and log out during each class session, but I don't know how to do it. I don't understand how it works. So, mag-class picture na tayo ngayon because that's the only proof I have for Dean Tano that I attended. Besides my bill for laundering my barongs. I have no proof that ako walang resibo na nag-attend, na nag-lecture talaga ako. But please anticipate kung sakali magka-problema ako sa Baguio and I really have to repair the house, I may have to eat up a weekend and either I'll pre-tape my lecture. That means you just download it and watch it at your leisure. Then I'll give you another activity as usual. Or I'll be physically present. I'll tell you, I'll only know, I have hearings kasi, so the earliest that I can go to Baguio is Wednesday morning. I have to go early morning. I'm not going to drive. Although it will take, mabilis lang mag-drive. Hassle, kasi bahay namin sa